Hello everybody and welcome back to Power Director Made Simple. On July 17th, 2025, the latest update to Power Director 365 included for the first time a new category of transitions with sound effects. And as predicted in my video about that update, there was indeed another update that followed about a week later. I believe that last update might have included some bug swats concerning those new transitions, but so far, Cyberlink support is being somewhat coy, saying that they know nothing about problems with the transitions, even though the very latest update seems to have fixed a few anomalies that I have shown them. We'll soon see for sure. In the meanwhile, so far you've all probably seen them on your own, or at least saw some of them that I previewed in the previous video about that update. There were 12 new transitions with sound effects that were introduced as a new category when Cyberlink finally released that delayed update for July. Now let's take another look at them right now. They are easy to find. Just click on Transitions on the top category, and then the Redundant Transitions category along the left side, and finally the With Sound Effects subcategory. You are looking at those 12 new transitions, which of course Cyberlink never bothers to show any of their resources in alphabetic order. I've gone through all of them in some detail, and I've learned a few strange things about them. The first surprising thing is that there are two transitions that are not really adjustable for duration, even though it may seem like you are able to change the duration. These are the whoosh and the glitch transitions. Now on my timeline are two Halloween type videos along with an added audio file just under it. I have reduced the audio volume somewhat, but just to let you know, if I were to disable the audio entirely, it would have an adverse effect on disabling the audio of the transition as well. So be aware of that possible mistake. I'll drag the first transition called whoosh down in between the two clips. If I play the clips, all we hear is one quick whoosh sound. When I scrub the playhead very slowly back over the clips, you can see in the preview window that there is just a very short blur of about 3 frames long on each clip. That is only 1/10 of a second and barely noticeable to the human eye when played at normal speed. If I hold the mouse over the transition, it says the duration is 1 second long. When I click on Edit with the transition selected, the transition settings window opens. There it allows me to change the duration of the transition. I'll increase it up to 5 seconds. You can see the result of how it looks on the timeline. What do you think will happen when played? Will the sound effect play in slow motion? Will the blur effect now take 5 seconds? I'll move the playhead to just before the transition and hit play. The sound effect does not ever change, and that's probably a good thing. If I slowly scrub the playhead back from the middle of the transition, as near as I can tell, the blur effect now starts to take effect at about 18 frames on each clip, which is just over half of a second. Now it starts to be noticeable. If I were to drag down the glitch transition, it behaves the same as whoosh, in that the video effect only increases slightly regardless of what the user sets for the duration of the transition. Now speaking of duration times, even though the default duration for transitions is normally fixed at 2 seconds in the program settings, these sound effects transitions have their own natural durations. The whoosh, camera, glitch, and wrong transitions are set for 1 second only. The sparkle, film roll, a few moments later, no signal, explode, and wave transitions are set for 2 seconds. And finally, the O and countdown transitions are set for 3 seconds. All of these can be increased to any duration, and the video portion of the transition will also be increased, except for the whoosh and glitch as we've just seen. I'll show you how that works for the rest of them. I'll delete the existing transition and then drag down the camera transition. When I hold my mouse over it, you can see that it has a natural duration of just 1 second. But let's increase that to 10 seconds. I'll hit Edit and change it to 10 seconds. You can see what the result looks like down in the timeline. As I scrub the playhead along the first clip, you can see that the video portion of the camera transition starts to show up almost immediately. I'll put the playhead just before the transition and hit play so that it plays, and you can see that the video portion of the transition with the camera information is visible nearly the whole portion of the 10-second duration. Now, this camera transition was used exclusively between all images on the 1.5-minute slideshow presented as my video number 158 last week. I'm going to delete that transition and drag down the SpongeBob SquarePants time card transition. Now, this one is somewhat unique in that it has absolutely no video motion to it at all. I'll move the playhead to just before the transition and hit play.
A few moments later.
It is merely a stationary image with a sound effect. These are the kinds of transitions that are so simple for any user to create. You are a video editor, so it's time to put your creative thoughts to work and come up with your own similar transitions. If Cyberlink can do it, then you can also do it. Now, here's an example of how that can be done. I'll delete the existing transition on the timeline, and in my media library, I just happen to have my own SpongeBob SquarePants time card that I have saved in an MP4 format. I'll drag that down to the timeline and place it on track 2 so that it is just below the other video files. It is not a true transition, so I can't place it on top of the video clips. Otherwise, it would want to overwrite that portion of the clips. Notice that as an MP4 file, it includes its own audio sounds. I'll move the playhead to just before the new so-called transition, and let's see what happens when I hit play.
A few moments later.
It seems to work just as good as the Cyberlink supplied transition. Now, if you know how to download videos from YouTube, then try this site out to get any of your own SpongeBob time cards. You can also create your own transition using any media clip and add a sound effect if desired. For example, I'll delete the transition that I created on the timeline, and then I'm going to drag down the Halloween JPEG image to track 2, centering it over the other 2 videos. I'll also add an MP3 file, which is Cackle, as an audio track under it on the same track. If I play it now, it is just a still image clip, but the original audio still plays through. I might even try dropping the opacity of the Halloween image down to around 70%. And then also, I'm going to add a fade out to the audio of the first clip. And then a fade in to the second clip. I'll extend those fade outs until they are approximately matching the sound effect. Now I'll move the playhead and hit play. I'm beginning to think that works just as well as any Power Director transition with sound effects, if not better. But wait, there's more. What if I substituted a video for that still Halloween image? I'll delete it and pull down the video of a witch on a green screen, temporarily placing it on track 3. Because it has just a silent audio track, then if I want, I can separate the audio track by right-clicking and unlinking it. Then I'll select just the audio track and delete it out of there. Now I can actually move the video all by itself down to join the witch's cackle already on the timeline. It has a green screen background, which I'm going to set to transparent mode by hitting Edit, then the Video tab, and then Background, and finally the Chroma Key tool. I'll click on the eyedropper and select anywhere on the green screen. Magically, the other video shows through in the background, but there still is some green fringe showing around her arms and the goblet. I'll slide the color range up to around 60 to include that particular shade of green, and it all disappears. I'll then click OK to exit the window. Now the video is a little long for a transition effect, so with the clip selected, I'll hold down the Control key and drag one of the ends inward to speed up the video to about a total of 5 seconds duration. I'll recenter the video and then move the playhead and then hit play. Well, now it's looking better than any Power Director transition. John Carpenter, look out. Now, before I finish out this video, I would just like to point out one thing about that nice, handy way that Power Director provides you to do a fade in and fade out by clicking on a menu box. As you look at each clip, you can see where the opacity line drops down or up, indicating a change in opacity. Now, technically, these are nothing more than keyframes entered at that particular time code to control the opacity. With the second clip selected, I'm going to click on the diamond icon on the toolbar, which will open up the keyframe settings window. There you see the 2 keyframes, with the first one starting at 0. And then the second one changing it up to 100. That's just another menu option to accomplish the same thing in Power Director. Now that's all, folks. Please hit subscribe and the like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.